episode 16. I have this notebook here. I planned things this time, so maybe they'll be more organized. I don't know. But for this one, we're going to have pretty much a big event happening on each continent. It should be fun. If you like the video, hit the like button. It'd be much appreciated. Oh, jeez. Okay. So the first event, or more accurately, a series of events that will take place are on the European continent. Or should I start somewhere else? You know, I'll actually come back to Europe, because that's kind of the climax of the three events. But we'll start here in Asia with South China, and they are not doing great. They're taking a strong turn for the worse here, and soon we will see factions within the country opt to break away, to not be part of them anymore. And the first movement, I guess you could call it, is a very large movement down here in not southwestern China, but like over here, basically North Vietnam, but like on crack. They have like a ton of land over here, and I should learn this area better. But these guys try to break away, which makes them mad, but they can't really do anything because they're not the only ones. Voice crack, beautiful. Anyways, basically all of their northwestern portion will also opt to try and break away from them. This is mostly like, I won't say mostly Himalayan, but like all this area is definitely mountain, but some of these areas around here aren't. Actually, I think we'll hold them off in this area, but as for this large section of the central part of their country does opt to break away. Up in the north too, we will also have the city of, or like this area, which is most of the country essentially, kind of overthrow the working government in South China, which will lead to basically everything falling apart. And it's here that we see the neighbors get involved, most notably Burma Siam, who will start moving in immediately, and they'll move in pretty far. They'll stop eventually though. And then there's Taiwan. Two neighbors will simultaneously land on Taiwan, those being the Philippines and the others being the Japanese, which leads to a pretty strong split on the island. So we'll see how that unfolds. But we will also see, obviously, North China's not going to pass up this opportunity. So they'll just immediately start moving in. And they won't just move into the scattered China. They'll move into this new, like, early state over here in this area. And they basically capture all of the most populated areas of the South Chinese country, which is a massive win for them. They take all of this and they just keep on moving. They even move in a little bit to these guys, which is rude. They don't even care. But yeah, we could see they just took a huge amount of like extremely valuable land there. As for Burma, Siam, and Cambodia, they also don't really like the Vietnamese country. Cambodia won't do anything yet, but Burma will tear up this like area over here. As for the rest of this area, the rest of these two areas, I'm not really sure what to do fully with them. So I'm going to do something that looks like this. The Filipino Borneo country will make a landing along this stretch of coastal area of China. They'll capture, I think, 5 major cities. Japan will straight up make a landing over here, bordering, or now sharing a land border with their enemy, the North Chinese, which originally it was like Japan and South China versus North China to kind of balance it out, but now it's very quickly falling into North China's favor. Japan's kind of just trying to claim something. Were these islands claimed by them? They should be. So yeah, all these islands over here, and then North Taiwan is theirs. Inland, China's not doing so good, and neither really is this western part that tried to break away. They're pretty much falling apart. Parts of this country right here will defect to Tibet. Pretty large chunk, like maybe like a fifth of the country. A sizable port. Actually, you know what? We'll straight up do this. This is all mountain territory. This is good land to have Tibet occupy. And then the rest, I guess, we will just do something like this. So North China, we'll go ahead and finish these guys off. Oh my god, I can't English. Wipe out these last few major cities. Burma Siam will go ahead and yoink this land. And then this kind of just falls back into this pink mess. The remnant of South China. There's no saving them now. They're too far gone. This land will be further occupied by the Filipino Borneo country. I'm gonna have Japan move a little bit inland, like here. And then the rest of this inland area will just be, we'll just do something like this. The South Chinese Vietnamese country will get that, and then North China will go ahead and take all of this. So we have the fall of South China in Asia, which is massive. Here we're going to see a little bit of a, I'm going to fix up these borders essentially and make them look all nice. So I think here, I'm just going to call them North Vietnam. Actually, where's Hong Kong? I think this is Hong Kong. So I think, man, I really should Google that. But whatever, I'm not going to do it right now. So this is pretty much fine along here, and then I'll fix the border up a little bit over here that looks something along those lines. So that's a whole lot of land. These guys get pretty decent chunk of land too. And low-key Borneo's kind of becoming a pretty big power in South Asia. They're doing pretty good. Oh shoot, I completely forgot about this. So one moment. We'll be back over here in just a second, but I added a ideology map. As you can see, almost all the triangles are red for monarchy, or what's the other word I'm looking for? Oligarchy. Almost all of those are like that. The yellow triangles, which only exist in Afghanistan, Tibet, and then I think, nope, that's it, just those two. Those are republics. There are only two as of this moment. The blue is the only democracy in the world. That is Borneo, the first. And then this Mongol country, as well as the, why am I forgetting the word? Egyptian Sudanese country, and then the Central Africa country. The gray is anarchy. They are in a state of anarchy. They are not functioning. So that might come into play later. I'm also going to have to update it because these guys got cooked. They don't exist no more. But we're seeing the finalization of the treaties here. The Burma Siam country got a lot of land. You know, I think South China is going to still exist, and I think a big player behind that is going to be Japan. They are going to... Oh, did I lose the color, though? Tell me there's like 1 pixel of... South China left somewhere. Oh my god, there is. Thank goodness. Okay. Saved. So Japan's occupation zone is going to basically be South China. They reinstall them, not as a puppet, but kind of just as like a means of maintaining their side of the feud between them and North China. And to be fair, North China probably isn't going to be able to hold on to all this land, so concessions will be made, probably by all sides. So we're going to have... Okay, time to tinker with the borders. So we'll do something like this for North China. They're going to have a much tougher time holding on to like major inland areas, so we'll do something like this. Beautiful. And then over here in why am I forgetting their name? Burma Siam. There's going to be some land concessions made there, but first let me get the Borneo border better. It'll look something like that. So they'll concede this, and then that. Granted, this isn't very strong, but like it's something. As for Vietnam's like massive. I don't think they could be that large realistically. China will hold on to all that, including this funky little bit down here. So this is them. Actually, I kind of don't like that. Where's my recolor tool? There we go. Better. Better. So, oh yeah, and I said Burma Siam was going to give up a little bit. They won't have to give up like a ton. This is very rural land anyways. So, when it comes to land, they have to concede. It's not too bad. Still probably makes them mad, but whatever. They can't hold on to it anyway. So, South China will still exist, albeit in an extremely weakened state. And North China is balling out. They've pretty much taken the reins over East Asia. Like, the power dynamic in East Asia right now, North China is definitely running the block, but Japan and Borneo are kind of smaller powers rising to the occasion. And then there's like Burma Siam, but they're a little weird. They are a tad funky. So that is... Oh, Taiwan. How could I forget Taiwan? So, both of these two guys, both of these two powers, want Taiwan, and they're kind of trying to figure out what to do. Japan actually doesn't want to give Taiwan over to the South China country. They want to just take it for themselves, and Borneo also wants to. Now, will this end in a war? No, it will not. It will simply end with a very long negotiation, ending with Japan paying Borneo some money and then them occupying the island. So this will look something like this. Japan gains control of Taiwan, and they have all the islands along the way too. So they have like a... Japan really is starting to develop a sizable presence in the Pacific, and then obviously Borneo has like this huge sphere of influence, even over some of the like not Central, South Asian countries over here in India. So that's pretty cool. Looking good. We're not done in Asia just yet. Let's go over here to... Oh, this is bad. Why can't I name this continent? Oceania. Jesus. My God. I suck today, apparently. Oh well. Recalibrating. Papua New Guinea is going to further be explored by the Borneo country. It's a tad tumultuous, but eventually they occupy the entire island, as well as a couple of islands over here. Now, I know some of the islands over here in Oceania can be particularly rough to inhabit, so they'll wait a little bit before going over here to like Bougainville and all these other places. I'm gonna drink water real quick. Yay, hydration. Okay. They will make a landing in Australia, though, along this horn-shaped area. We'll see how long that lasts. Also, I looked up a map of Australia's geography, and it's basically just all desert over here, except for down here. So, we're going to do a little bit of a retcon on the history, and we're going to say that Java did not do this at all. They landed here, right? That's still the same. And then they failed, but instead of landing like this, they're going to land over here where like Perth and West Australia is. First, let's clean this up though. Oof. Okay. Java. They're going to land more so over here. And this is where their little colony will start to what's the word I'm looking for? Grow. And it'll grow pretty big. It'll do quite well. It's not super crazy or anything, but it's like it exists. It's stable. It's good. And now both Java and Borneo have a presence in Australia, in the Australian landmass. So that's pretty cool. As for Asia, it looks like Burma Siam is not. Why am I like struggling with language today? I can't even talk. They're declaring war on Bengali. They're waltzing on in. They just wipe out these two major cities, and then they just come rolling on in. They tear these two apart. They roll up to here, and actually, this orange country will be next to jump the Bengali. They'll seize all this land. I think I'm missing a chunk over here. There we go. And as for some of this, another country kind of getting in on this is Tibet. They're not very strong, they just want the mountains. And the countries around them are pretty much okay to let them have the mountains because they don't care. But Tibet's grown pretty big, or a little bigger in this episode. They've taken some mountain territory from South China and North Bengali. As for the rest of this, I mean, we'll say the gray team does not get involved this time. Although it'll kind of make the borders look bad, but whatever. We'll have this orange country just make the borders look absolutely hideous. Oh my god. India's border in this area doesn't look great anyway, so I'm just gonna... It'll be fine. There we go. Okay, and when it's all said and done, it looks like this. Beautiful. Totally better. So yeah, that's our update over here in Asia. Things have changed a little bit. But now, moving over to Africa, we're going to see a major war breakout that's going to span across continents, actually. But the bulk of the fighting will happen here in Africa. After a little while of being chill, the old Imperians will decide that they are going to declare war on this country, this Arabian country that they promised not to, which obviously is going to bring Punt into the war. And if Punt's in the war, then these guys, they're friends in the Ethiopian highlands slash like Central Africa. These guys will come to their side. So we have these guys, and then obviously these guys, all getting roped into a war with the Old Empyreans. Now, the Old Empyreans have a lot of ambitions in this part of the world, and they also have some friends over here in North Asia. Obviously, there's the Caspia country and the Caucasia country that are both allies with them. Both of these countries will join their side in this war over here in Punt. They'll be supplying them, which is not what you want to see, because looking at this from a power map, I mean, these three countries combined already was like probably a little weaker than the Old Empire on its own, but now throwing Caspia and Caucasia into the mix, like, they might be cooked. They're definitely not gonna be doing great because of that. So they're definitely at a disadvantage. In addition, a deal is made. Mesopotamia, the Old Empire, goes to the most powerful country in the world, Rome, and they go, hey, we realize that if you really wanted to, you could probably help Punt in this war and whoop us pretty good, but we think that we can come to a compromise. And so this is the compromise that they make. Egypt, at this point, has been under their control for a really long time. They're willing to concede everything west of the Sinai Peninsula, and thus give them access to probably take as much of this land as they want, because, you know, it's an anarchy. It's not going great over there. So they're basically giving them the reins to Egypt in exchange for their neutrality in this war. And Rome's gonna be like, ooh, lovely, sounds great. Rome probably didn't even have plans to get involved in the war in the first place. And free land is free land, so they're going to accept that deal. And they are going to acquire all of Egypt, which is very big for them. And the Old Empire now can get on with its major war. But first, more water, because my throat is just so dry today. Okay, that's good. All right. Okay. The Old Empire is going to move out from the coastal regions, particularly this area. They're going to completely cut these guys off from the coast. In the north, it's slightly more arduous, but it's a landslide. They're going to destroy them. And then from these cities in Central Arabia, they move out a little bit, but these guys fall very quickly. And soon they get pushed back to the border of Eritrea, who also doesn't really stand that much of a chance. They get run through by the Old Empyrean military. They get kicked out to these three cities, including this one, which is the gap into the Arabian Peninsula, and they'll try to hold out as long as possible, but once the North City falls, a cascade of troops wipe out the second one, and eventually the people of Punt are completely kicked out of the Arabian Peninsula, leading to full control by the Old Empire, which is rough. In addition, the Old Empire will go out and steal this island over here, which is something. But now comes the tricky part. What is the Old Empire's plans from this point? Are they going to invade across the channel into the Red Sea and just try to wipe out Punt? No, not quite. Because as strong as they are, Punt is still like a top 5 country in the world. This is like the second most powerful country fighting like the 4th. Actually, that begs a good question. What are the most powerful countries in the world at this point? 1's obviously Rome, 2's the Old Empire. I think 3's probably like Estonia. 4 is like Punt, and then 5 would be like North China, I think. Yeah, that sounds about right. So, 2nd versus 5th strongest country. 5th strongest country is still quite competent, and to be fair, even though they do have these guys who are probably hovering somewhere around the top 15, these are just, like, this is a lot of help, but still, there's questions over whether or not they want to actually try and go ahead and invade. So what they end up doing is they kind of just ruin a lot of stuff. They basically just do something like this. They send their military in, not necessarily to take control of an area, but kind of just to run amok. And they basically just, like pirates, just destroy everything along the coast and kind of just wreck Punt as much as possible. And they do a pretty good job of that, and then they instantly just flee across the sea back to Mesopotamia. And eventually the two sides work out a deal and sign for peace. And this peace treaty will look basically what we're seeing now on the screen. The Old Empyreans take control completely of the Arabian Peninsula. Oh, and now we can get rid of that. They take full control of the Arabian Peninsula and this island too. Nice island. But they, with the destruction of the Punt coast along the Red Sea, including their capital, first of all, they're not top 5 anymore. They get pretty badly beaten up. And now the Old Empyreans have pretty much full control over the Red Sea, and they're the dominant power here. Same way like Rome's dominating the Mediterranean, the Empyreans dominate not only the Persian Gulf, but that's not as important as the Red Sea. So now we kind of see we have like Rome, Mediterranean, and Old Empire in the Red Sea, creating this like kind of like how there was Olympia and then there was Anatolia. We have Rome and then Old Imperia. That doesn't necessarily mean things are going to go the same way that conflict did, but who knows? But over here in Punt, things are not going great. I'm going to move their capital. Their capital probably got absolutely wrecked, just incinerated. So we're going to build them a new capital a ways away. So they're going to put their new capital over here in the Horn of Africa. Why can't I? What? Okay, you know what? Their new capital is going to be right. There we go. Now I can put it down. I don't know why it wasn't letting me. They put it right here. And then this one's just goodbye. So, actually, maybe like, I don't want to say all their cities are destroyed, but I could definitely see like 1 or 2 of them just being too badly damaged to keep on maintaining. It's not like Punt lost all their influence in the Red Sea, but they lost like 99% of it. That's an exaggeration. Like basically, they just lost a lot of influence. So now the question is asked: what happens to Punt's colonies, who probably aren't very happy at sending troops over to Punt, only to watch them get kicked out of Arabia? Well, as is maybe to be expected, they're gonna try independence. At least Madagascar is. Madagascar will opt to declare themselves independent from Punt, and Punt right now is not in a state to try and fight it, so they'll just be like, alright Madagascar, I guess you're a thing now. You're your own country. To be fair, because the split is mostly like peaceful, Madagascar doesn't really have like a bad opinion of Punt. They're pretty friendly, not as friendly as like these two, but pretty friendly relations. These two islands over here will still be held onto by Punt, though. South Africa is a little bit of a different story. South Africa begins the move towards independence, but before they can do anything, South Africa decides they're going to, a little late, but they also declare war on Punt and just clobber them. They take several of the major cities over here in South Africa until Botswana jumps in and takes the rest. They'll sweep through this area, punching all the way to the coast, where they'll secure all of this under their flag or crown or whatever term you want to use. So we see New South Africa looks something like this, with Botswana controlling this eastern part of, and then South Africa gaining a lot of influence. But Punt is definitely not a top 5 power anymore. Top 10, I think they're out of top 10 at this point. I think their strength right now is probably like similar to a country like Caucasia. I think these two are about the same strength at this point. So that didn't go well for them. But now, moving back over to India. That is not India. Oh my god. Egypt. Oh my word. Egypt. Like I said before, Rome knows this place is just anarchy, so they're just gonna waltz in and take some land. So they just begin moving down and occupying land, kind of pretending I'm following the Nile. I don't actually know where it flows, but they aren't actually moving men, at least a notable amount of men, into the desert. They're kind of just going mine and then claiming it. But they will take a large quantity of Egypt's land. Punt, they've lost a great deal in their conflict with the Old Imperians. They're still going to try to take some land out of this, and then their little, not satellite state, but like neighbor, very good friend, will also move in, and they'll actually take this major city down here and take this kind of chunk of land. The square team will not move. They are content to chill here perfectly in the center of Africa. But Rome continues moving down into Africa, and eventually, after years of fighting, they will capture the capital, and they will just completely wipe them out. Completely and wholly destroy them. Goodbye, Egypt. And now we have Rome getting even larger, but I don't think Rome would hold on to all this land. I think that they make another puppet state. Kind of like, not puppet state, but like very friendly towards them territory that they give independence to. So they're going to form a new country over here. And what do we want to make them? Here, we'll do this. Oh, do I want to make the border horrible? I think I do. Ooh, this is going to be funny. Okay. Get ready for this one. Yeah. Boom. Oklahoma. No, but we have the new, this color is too difficult to see any major cities. Not that they have a bunch of them, but boom. There we go, that's a little better. You can see them. It's like a creamsicle orange color. But yeah, they will have a tiny strip of desert land up above the square team, which means Rome no longer borders them. kind of don't like the way this looks. I'm gonna make it slightly more girthy. There we go. Perfect. Beautiful. Okay. Looks great, actually. Yeah, okay, so whole lot of land. This country's probably really weak, but whatever. They're gonna try to persist. You know, I liked the joke, but the more I look at it, I can't do it. I can't do it. The Oklahoma was funny, but no. We will avoid that. You make them look like that. I'm just gonna have to get rid of all that. Sorry. Oklahoma was funny though. I liked the idea. So, we now have Rome has just... They already had complete control over North Africa influentially, but yeah, it's even worse now. They have control over that. So that's Africa. Actually, no, it's not. It's not completely Africa. Actually, we'll save that for next episode. Next episode, you'll see what happens over here, but they're not gonna last much longer. Finally, we will have an event taking place in Europe. Over here. In Sparta, the urge to declare war on their neighbors grows insurmountable. So they're going to take it out on a old enemy, I guess, of Olympia, Anatolia. They're going to try fighting Rhodes, because North Anatolia is like a little too comparable strength-wise at this point, so they're going to go for Rhodes. They will capture the main island and then capture this coastal region, moving inland along the North Anatolian border. They'll move down, cutting off the capital, which they will then capture. And with the capture of the capital comes a frantic scurry to try and capture as much of this land, particularly by the Old Empire. They're going to move on in, capture 2 major cities, and then move down along the coast, capturing this one, along the coast of Taiwan, eventually meeting up with the border of the new Spartan country. The rest of this land, North Anatolia will rush in quick to secure. And Sparta doesn't really mind. In fact, they'll draw up a treaty with North Anatolia to get a little more land out of this. They're basically like, alright, we want... North Anatolia is like, alright, if you hand back this, we'll be willing to give you a little more land over here. And they'll take this deal. Thing like that. Alright. Land exchange. Fun. But now we see that Sparta's influence has spread across the Aegean Sea and into Anatolia. I don't even think Olympia had territory in Anatolia. Water, okay. So, rip Rhodes. They got beaten up by the Spartans, but apparently that's not enough, because Sparta's now going to go after their old enemy, the straight-up Olympians. The Spartans will move in. Yeah, I'm on the wrong brush size, hold up. They'll move in. Oh, I'm still in the wrong brush size, my goodness. Okay. They'll move in towards the capital, expecting to just kind of walk in, but that's not really what happens. And Olympia does push back. They push back over here and begin threatening this major city. In fact, they kind of go around and cut off this counteroffensive. And things look to be going very well for Olympia. They might even be able to get some of their land back from their old empire, until Rhene decides they want to get involved, and they just moved their whole ass army into the country. They capture this major city right here, and they just, yeah, it's game over for Olympia. It looked fun for a second, but it wasn't meant to be. Sparta will, I think actually Rheims just took a little bit of Spartan land. You know, we'll just do that just to make sure. Perfect. They'll move on in across the south, threatening this, threatening their capital, and eventually they'll just completely surround it like that, and then Austria-Hungary gets involved in this and just comes crashing in through the north of the country. They wipe out this major city. They form a strong border with their allies, but Olympia will not be destroyed. They will be made into a city-state. The second city-state, I believe, next to the old French team. So now we have two. There's Olympia, and then there is France. Not even France, that's like Mediterranean France. So yeah, Olympia just got jumped for all their land. How rude. That did not go well for them. And to end this video off, we will have a unification happen between Austria and Bavaria. Bavaria likes what's going on in Austria-Hungary, and they're willing to put themselves into the alliance. But this also creates kind of a three-way empire. So now they're not really just Austria-Hungary, they're Bavaria, Austria-Hungary. So there are three different countries in here governing the whole thing, and they're kind of acting as like one big conglomeration. Hungary obviously controlling all this area, Austria controlling this, and then Bavaria controlling all this. So they are big. They span all the way from like West Germany to central Ukraine. Definitely a powerhouse in Europe, though probably not the strongest of countries. Like I think they're probably comparable in strength to like this pink French country. I think Estonia is definitely stronger. Caucasia, I think Caucasia is slightly weaker. Sparta is probably a little stronger. Rheims is probably a little stronger. Rome is the most powerful country in the world. And then even these like purple Danish Prussians are probably stronger. And then Scotland, about on par with Scotland. Oh, I just realized we didn't do... Okay, you know, final cap off to the video. We will see Scotland attempt to acquire more land in Greenland. They'll move a little bit inland, but not much because it's just ice. And then over here, along this area, they'll move a little further south, acquiring all that. But with that said, that is going to be all for episode 16 of What If Civilization Started Over. Hopefully you liked it. Again, please like the video. That'd be super great. That'd be awesome. I'd love that. And farewell. Goodbye.